this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make a bail for a top drilled pendant. So these are all different size and types of stones. This one is actually a glass cat's eye, and I know Shirley at Budget Bead Box has a bunch of these, so she sent me this one. So if you want some of those, check that out. And if you don't see them, ask her about them. She'll get them for you. Anyway, these are the gemstones, and they all turned out really pretty. This particular bail takes a little bit of practice, but if you follow the instructions and you try it a couple of times, you will eventually get it to work every time. It's just that you need to work with it a little bit at first. Let's go ahead and look at what we need to make this particular project. Okay, for this pendant, you will need a top drilled bead or pendant. So I have this agate, and it has the little hole up here. You can see that it doesn't matter what shape or what size stone you have, this is going to work just as long as the hole is big enough to run 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire through it. So just test your hole and make sure that 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire will slide through it. You're going to need a round nose plier, chain nose plier, and flush cutter, and a piece of wire, 8 inches of 20 gauge wire. This is Beadalon, and it is round and it is medium temper. This is silver plated. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 8 inches of wire and I am going to fold it in half like so. And I'm just going to try to find the center as best as I can without kinking my wire. Once I have it's somewhat centered, then I am going to grab my round nose pliers and I'm going to place it where I think the center is. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to place it on here, on the biggest part of my pliers, and I'm going to just make a circle around my pliers. I'm going to squeeze each end down, so I'm going to squeeze that end down. I'm going to turn it so that I can use my other hand, squeeze this end down. I'm using my fingernail, however you can use chain nose pliers, whatever you'd like to accomplish the task. Now I'm going to try to straighten my wires out so that they're not crossing and they're laying next to each other. Just like this. Don't work them too much because then they get too stiff, but just somewhat. Like this. I'm going to get you closer so you can see. So basically just wrap it around, make a loop, and then straighten out the ends. Now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I am going to bend. I'm going to go on the wider part of my pliers and I'm just going to bend this down, just like that. So I've got this funny golf club looking thing. Then I'm going to come up into the area where the 2 wires meet, right on top of the loop. I'm going to use the smaller part of my pliers and I'm going to bend these wires over the top of them, like this. So now you have this. Then I'm going to place my pliers into that bend, and it's not going to fit perfectly because I use the small part, but I want to go to the bigger part of my pliers, the biggest part that I can get a hold of here, and I'm going to just bend my wires around, all the way around. And I'm just pushing them in on this side. So this is what I have. Now I'm going to take my pliers right where the bend is on that side, on my straight side, and I'm just going to bend this out. And then I'm going to straighten everything up. So I'm going to bring this over the top a little bit more. So I'm grabbing the front and just bringing it over so that this part doesn't lean really far out this way. It's more lined up with this loop like this. Then I'm going to take these two wires and just gently bend them so that there's no kinks, because we have to slide them through the pendant. But I just want it to be a little easier for me to access my loop once I slide it through. So I've done that, and now I'm going to slide it through my stone here and bring it all the way up to where that bend is. Now I'm going to bend these a little bit more, smoothly bending them, not kinking them, and I'm going to bring this bead right in the portion where I've bent it back. This wire bends back. I'm going to get close to that, not quite on it, and I'm going to bend this part up, just like that, but not too far yet, just enough to where you basically know where it's going to be. And then we're going to bend these wires around, and I'm going to just bend these ends up a little bit so I can grab them. And I'm going to place them through this loop. Now this is the hard part of this whole design, is getting them through without distorting everything. So I'm holding onto this half and pushing this up through, and it's a little resistant, and then I'm going to grab, maybe my chain nose will work better than my round nose, if I can find them. And I'm going to grab these wires and I'm going to pull on them. Try to get them both at the same time. Mine didn't quite do that, but that's okay because they didn't kink or anything. Now this is what I have. Now I'm going to push this circle down over the hole of the bead or of the pendant. Just push it down. Now I've got these two wires coming through here. This is what it looks like. Now I'm going to squeeze these together on the back. So right where I bent it previously, I'm just going to squeeze it together. I'm going to doctor up my circle a little bit, make sure it's nice and pretty. Like this. That's what I have. Now I am going to take one of my wires. I'm going to separate them. And put one on one side of the bail and one on the other side of the bail. I'm going to move this one out of my way. And then I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and tightly wrap, I'm going to get that one out of the way, around my bail. So once I get it around, then I can grab it and really pull it and give a nice wrap. I'm going to wrap twice. Bring it back behind the bail. And then I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to go behind my bail and kind of underneath the other wire. So I'm going to kind of move this out of my way and go behind and under the previous wraps. And then go around twice. I'll just go on top of the wrap I just made with my second wrap. Pull it really tight. And make sure everything still looks good. Now this takes a little practice. This is not completely easy. I wouldn't call it a really easy bail, but it's not really hard either. It just takes some practice. The main issue is that the wire is pretty resistant and you have to pull on it pretty hard and you can end up distorting things. So you just have to practice a couple of times. I've done this literally for, I probably did it about 20 times. And I've gotten some really nice wraps, so they've turned out really nice. So now I have my two wires back here. I'm going to get my flush cutters and I'm going to cut real close. And then I'm going to tuck those ends in. With my chain nose pliers. To make sure they're not pokey. Then I can turn it over and bring this bail forward a little bit, and then if I would want to, I can separate my bail. So I usually can stick my fingernail in there. That's not happening. So I'm just going to use a little pair of bead scooping tweezer things here and just separate them. You don't have to separate them. I just like the way they look separated. Just straighten it out and then you've got a bail. So like with this one, I can scoot that over a little bit because it's a little off center. And you can just play with it until it gets to where it looks like you like it. That's not bad. That looks pretty good. You will have a little bit of wiggle in it. Bails usually wiggle a little. There won't be a lot. It's pretty sturdy, but there will be a little wiggle. And these are the 3 I've made. If you like this bead, Shirley at Budget Bead Box has tons of these. She sent me this one. And I actually I think she did send me a few more, but I'm not sure where I put them because I think it turns out really nice. And with this, you could even take a charm or something and glue it on the front if you wanted to. I just kind of like it plain, but those are really affordable. They're cat's eye. And I know that she has a lot of those. So if you don't see it on her site, ask her about it. But she does have them. And so that is what I've done to make the bail. And here's the one that I made for my bargain bead box. This is the whole reason I designed this bail, is because I got this nice, pretty pendant, and I wanted to be able to use it in my making stuff with bargain bead box. But that video is getting long, so I've made the bail a separate video, but this is what the bail looks like on the one that I made for that. And I'm going to make a necklace out of this and show it on that one. So anyway, really simple, really easy. Takes a little bit of practice, and I'm not going to say it's really simple and really easy. It takes a little bit of practice. But once you get it down, it turns out pretty good every time. Hope you like this tutorial. See ya!